Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Best of 2022 brought to you by Get Your Geek On. I am Robert, and today I am joined by Keith and Frank, and we are talking the newest season of The Orville. Season 3 came out. The Orville TV show that's been on the air for a few seasons has now shifted over to Disney+. Of course, it is created by Seth MacFarlane. It stars Seth MacFarlane and Adrian Palicki, and a couple other major actors and actresses, but they're kind of the two main ones. So full disclosure, I have only seen the first episode of this show, so I am not going to be offering my opinions, but I'm going to be talking to these two guys who really enjoyed season 3 and wanted to talk about it. And so that's where we're going to kick off the conversation. Keith, tell me what you loved about season 3 of The Orville.
Season 3 of The Orville, you can tell that first and foremost, where they're going from Fox and Hulu, Seth MacFarlane had a lot more control of what he wanted. You get the feeling that he wanted a little bit more of a serious show compared to where I think Fox really wanted something a little more Family Guy, a little more slapstick, which season 1 and 2 kind of gives you, but there's still some serious undertones, especially with the way season 2 ended with, I don't want to give Robert any spoilers, but there's an all-out war where as season 2 ends, you're like, damn. So season 3 starts out, and you don't get as much of the same type of humor, but it kind of slowly creeps back in through that the season 3. But the budget, like the CGI, just you get a little bit more seeing out in space, a lot more cool stuff. That's what I really liked about season 3.
Excellent. Frank, what about you? What made season 3 stand out?
The same, like Keith was saying, it's more wholesome. Like I like it because like it's something like you can sit down with the family and actually watch, and they talk about like different things that are actually happening now. These are still things that are happening in the future, so you can connect. And again, there's some humor, there's some comedy, but it did go a lot more serious season 3, and I liked it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed season 1 and 2. I love the slapstick, the comedy, like Keith was saying, the whole, playing pranks and jokes on each other, just like you would in a military family. But at the same time, like I said, it's starting getting a little darker, and now it's just gotten a little bit more serious, but it's enjoyable. That's
great. Yeah, I mean, when you guys said you wanted to talk about this, I was like, well, I should watch at least one episode. And I watched it last night, and I enjoyed it. It's kind of, you got a little bit of that Star Trek feel to it where they're, on an exploration spaceship, but it's also very much a workplace comedy, which I got out of the first episode. So I will be catching up. I will be watching more. But that aspect definitely appealed to me. And so I'm interested, to hear you guys, is this your favorite season so far, or is it, kind of on par with the other ones? What do you think?
I think it's probably my favorite season so far.
Okay. Excellent. Frank, you agree?
I enjoyed season 2 more. This one is for sure a favorite, but I think season 2 was a little bit more that transition from like humorous to like getting darker as it went on is what I like. Now it's a little bit more serious. I enjoy it. Not knocking it, but I'm season 2 all the way.
Excellent. So, again, specifically, let's talk about season 3 a little bit. So storylines, characters, acting, you mentioned the budget being a little bit better. So like, what was it? What was the secret sauce in this particular season that really brought everything together? What do you think, Keith?
Well, first, I'd like to point out that Norm Macdonald was an awesome character on the show. And now after the fact, we find out that he kind of kept his whole illness a secret, and he made it a point to film or record his voice parts before, so the show that season had his entire character there. So, that's a heartfelt thing for me because I've always loved Norm Macdonald growing up, Saturday Night Live, and then just knowing after the fact that he made it a priority to finish his part for that season before his illness took him over, so that was a big thing for me. I kind of like Charlie's character. Charlie's character I've seen online is kind of a weird polarizing point. Some people liked her because she's kind of intense. And then the fact that she's a little too intense. It was kind of a very enigmatic thing for me to kind of see somebody who's dealing with grief and anger at the same time, and focusing it on Isaac, and then at the very, at the end, she kind of finds peace with it, but at the same time sacrifices herself to kind of save all, pretty much the galaxy, as well as be with her mate. So those were two big characters of the show that kind of made it a little more special for me as well.
Awesome. How about you, Frank? What was the special piece of this season for you?
The same. I enjoyed how Charlie kind of like once she started understanding like what the Kalons went through, she kind of started to sympathize with them. She was, like he said, she was really angry. It's like, you're my enemy. You killed the love of my life. I hate you. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you did save all of humanity. I'm still not gonna like you. And then once she started to kind of realize, oh, dang, like, yeah, they did go through a lot. It was basically slavery, and just treating them, like crap, pretty much. She kind of started, okay, now I see where your anger came from. I guess it's pretty much the same anger that I had. And she moved on with it. She moved forward. So I really enjoyed that particular episode. I guess the episode where the Moklak child was kind of debating her sexuality, whether she wanted to be male or female. And it's a season you kind of have to watch, or an episode you kind of have to watch, Robert, to understand that, she got a sex change when she was a baby to turn her from female to male, because these particular race don't allow women. So they get modified at birth to be all males. And she kind of started to realize that, how they talk about like, oh, I've always felt like I was different on the inside. She had that feeling, so that episode was like really intense, because she was just battling with that, who am I? What am I? Why do I feel so different? And I think that was, another one of my favorites right there. So those were good. Those were good. So you kind of have to watch it.
Yeah.
She was definitely a tearjerker for both my wife and I when we watched that.
Right? I mean, yeah, that was crazy, man. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to, because obviously the first episode that I've seen, it's much more lighthearted than what you guys are talking about. We haven't had time to build those connections with the characters and, get into those emotional beats that you guys are talking about. So I'm looking forward to getting to some of that stuff, because I like the setup. I like the show. Frank, you mentioned already at the beginning that, this is a show that you could watch with your family and stuff. So, kind of as we wrap things up, it's, who is this for? Who do you like? Is this show for everyone, or is it like, do you have to be a sci-fi fan to really enjoy it? What do you think?
I guess it's more of like a Deep Space Nine kind of thing, where it's kind of like family, and it's not as it's a little bit more intense than, let's say, a Star Trek episode. But if you're open like with your family like that, I would recommend it. Like, I would watch it with my kids, because I'm very open with them. But if you're a little bit more reserved, I would watch the episodes first and then make that decision, because like I said, they do talk about a lot of grown-up issues. And a lot of these episodes in season 3 are real tear jerkers, where Malloy gets lost back in time, and he starts a whole new family, in the 2000s, and then he loses them all, because they have to like bring him back, because he can't stay in the past. That one was a big tearjerker too. So like, you watch it and it kind of like makes you think, man, you value what you have, value your family at that moment, because you never know, what can possibly happen. So yeah, definitely I would recommend it for the family. But like I said, if you're a lot more reserved, I would watch the episodes first and then just make your own decision on that.
Okay. Keith, do you agree with what Frank is saying, or do you think, what?
Yeah, there's definitely like throughout, the whole, seasons 1 through 3, there's a few episodes where you kind of want to question whether you want your kids watching it. Mainly where, I forgot if it was season 1 or 2, where somebody, essentially it's like the whole adult pornography virus on your computer, wrecks your computer. Well, someone does that with the simulation room, but it impacts the entire ship. And so you kind of have to like wonder if you want your kid watching it. And then in season 3, where Bortus and his mate kind of make up, that's a really weird thing that I would not want to explain to my kid if I had any children. running through the woods, basically naked, trying to chase each other. I don't feel like explaining that. But yeah, so definitely anybody who liked Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, even maybe TNG, but definitely Deep Space Nine. It kind of feels like a Deep Space Nine with the family elements and things like that. So,
Awesome.
but like, what's crazy to me is I really hope that there's going to be a season 4. They kind of left, like, that was the name of the last episode, was uncertain. I think it was like Uncertain Future. I think it was, and it kind of ended it closed a few things like a lot of shows will do at the end of a season where they haven't had any other seasons purchased. Claire and Isaac, which would can be seen as the end of the Kaylon issue, because it's a human and a Kaylon coming together to be married. Very progressive, but not like where somebody who's gonna say that's woke, kind of thing, where it's progressive, but it's presented in a way where it's very wholesome, and you're kind of like, kind of gives you a warm feeling. So
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, we're all rooting for a season 4, and hopefully we get one. So make sure and check it out on Disney Plus, just like I did when I heard these guys want to talk about it. I said, well, it must be that good then. And so I'm looking forward to catching up more. Thanks, both Keith and Frank, for hopping on, talking about the Orville, because that was one of our channels, even though I haven't watched it yet. It's one of our channel's favorite things of the year. So we're talking about the best of 2022 in these videos, and we got more coming down the pipeline. So be sure to tune in. Again, let us know down below. Do you watch the Orville? Do you love the Orville? Did you like season 3? You rooting for a season 4? All that good stuff. Let us know. And with all that being said, for Keith, Frank, and myself, thank you so much for joining. Make sure and follow us on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and everywhere and anywhere podcasts at official GYGO. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Stay geeky.